What's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Crash Bang Boom podcast. Got a killer drummer for today's guest in Clayton Holyoak of Every Time I Die, formerly of Norma Jean. And I was able to catch up with Clayton amidst a run of Every Time I Die New York shows, 2 at St. Vitus and 3 previous ones on a cruise, which was pretty wild. We were able to talk a little bit about the bizarre scenario of drumming on a rocking and tilting boat with people tearing the whole place apart, which was pretty wild. But it was super cool catching up with him, having seen him killing with Norma Jean over the years. And we actually got to recount some of the shows that I had seen him play with Norma Jean throughout the years and some other memorable ones in Russia, Australia, and more. We also talked about the difference between Norma Jean's records, Wrongdoers, and Polish Similar, as well as the process of learning the Every Time I Die 17-song set with 6 days' notice before going out on a tour with him. And it sounds like it had to become a job just to learn all those songs, and meanwhile, he was rocking out in his mother's basement, and she's miraculously just still loving hearing him play. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a positive rating, please. iTunes podcast, it is. I'm also on SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Subscribe, follow, rate. Por favor. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking at putting out vinyl for your project, check out NewOrleansRecordPress.com for the real-time quote generator, packaging, coloring, mastering options, and more. In addition to being the first independently owned and operated full-scale, state-of-the-art record pressing facility in New Orleans, they're just good people doing great work. You know what I'm saying? So check them out and tell them Crash Bang Boom sent you. So here we go, y'all. Clayton Holyoak, Every Time I Die. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Clayton Holyoak, Every Time I Die. What's happening, dude? How you making out?
I'm great, man. Past few days have been awesome.
Nice, man. Last name, very impressive. As I go through this all the time, my last name is Smith, so I have last name envy. I just, that's a good one. I've never seen Holyoak before. Have you done like the Ancestry.com? It's got to be English, right?
I haven't actually. I don't know exactly what I am.
A mutt,
sure.
An American mutt, like
Yeah.
most of us.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, man, it's thanks for sitting down with me, man. I'm excited to check y'all out. I have not yet to see you with Every Time I Die. I've seen you throughout the years with Norma Jean. Always loved seeing you play with that band. Love the records that you played on. So it'd be fun to catch up with you and talk some shit.
Hell yeah.
Right on, man. Well, tell me a little bit about this run that y'all are doing right now. I think y'all did some boat gigs the last couple of days.
Yeah, we played on the Liberty Bell last 3 days. We had 2 sets each day.
Really?
We did a 45-minute set. Took a break, went outside, saw Lady Liberty.
Nice.
And then came back in and rocked again for 45 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah,
dude, Every
awesome.
Time I Die is notorious for doing this. I've seen them play with Legs here doing 2 shows at Vitus as well.
Yeah.
So y'all are notorious for pulling these fucking crazy gigs off. And I'll ask you the same thing that I feel like I might have talked to the previous drummers about. And when I say previous drummers also, for those of you listening, you were the 3rd drummer that I've talked to that has played in both Norma Jean and Every Time I Die, which is crazyville.
That's very strange.
It is pretty bizarre. Did you have to conserve yourself a little bit more than you would have otherwise, or did you feel like you were able to pace yourself and do it? I mean, you're young. You're a young buck. You can do it.
Kind of.
I'm 42. Old. I'm probably old enough to be your dad, man. Come on.
I mean, I'm 33, so I'm kind of up there.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't that much different. I mean, I grew up listening to Every Time I Die records, so
that's awesome.
I was kind of familiar with some of the material, and
right.
Yeah, it wasn't like that hard of a switch.
It's one thing to listen to it. It's another thing to actually physically play it and get inside of the songs, right? So when I think about what you were doing with Norma Jean, I would say from my drummer perspective that Every Time I Die, certainly on the higher BPM.
Definitely more punk rock, yeah.
More punk rock and some quirky, weird turnarounds and some weird shit happening in between parts. Was that at all like? Did you have to act? Did it take a minute to get there? Or did you kind of sink right into it?
There were a few things that were kind of tricky, and like you said, like listening to it and playing it is different. You know, like
for sure.
You hear something and you go to play it, and it like feels different than you would think.
Completely.
You know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of like was rushed to learn all this stuff, and I kind of just like crammed it all in, and I don't know. I just went into a mode where I'm like, all right, I have to do this, or else we can't like leave for tour.
Right.
So like, it was like sun up till sundown, like practicing.
Really, it was your job.
Yeah.
That's killer. takes some self-discipline, but I mean, obviously there was a reason to do it. But
Yeah.
I think while you were also, correct me if I'm wrong, you were posting some of that stuff on Instagram as you were practicing it, right? Like in a basement or something? I feel like on Instagram, I was seeing you shredding some Every Time I Die tunes.
Oh, okay. You're talking about my mom's basement.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where my drum set is right now.
She's like, oh my God, I still have to hear him playing these fucking drums after all these years.
She loves it, actually, because for a while, like, she didn't get to hear me drum, so
You have a very tolerant mother, my man.
she actually, like, really enjoys it.
Really?
Yeah. It's really weird.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, it's a common occurrence in talking to drummers, obviously, and you know, when you're the drummer in the bands come to your place because the drums are the hardest thing to move. So then not only do your parents have to hear you stumbling through playing the drums, which oftentimes in the initial phase, it sounds probably like drums falling down staircases. Then the bands come in, and then your parents are hearing you playing with your shitty bands, you know?
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing.
for
I don't know that I would have the patience for it like my parents had the patience for it. You know? I have an 8-month-old son, and I'm like, oh man, if he plays, we got to just live somewhere where I can just stick him outside in a shed. He has to be isolated. I don't know that I want to hear it in the house.
Yeah, it was weird. I started playing drums in 6th grade. My mom got me a kit.
That was the first one.
Yeah, and then I don't know. She was just like kind of like tolerated it like all growing up. She was just like fine with it.
Were you 11 or 12 years old?
12, yeah.
Okay. Did you? I know. I guess given some of the bands that you played with, like, did you grow up playing like in church or anything like that, or did you have like a religious household or necessarily, or
no, not religious at all.
Really?
I learned by listening to bands I would bring down my boombox from my room, and I would just turn it up as loud as it could go and
blast
go
away
at it and try to play along.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're pretty much self-taught?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. You haven't taken like any lessons at all?
Mm-mm.
Never. That's amazing. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I didn't go to school for music, but I took drum lessons in college and continue to take one-off lessons with guys in New York all the time, and grew up playing in marching band and like jazz band and all that.
I kind of wish I did. I mean, in school I was in like concert band and jazz band in high school.
Yeah.
But I never like learned how to read music really.
I
just
still
like,
am not good at it.
Like my
It's
teacher
tedious.
would like
It's-
come back and like show us how it was played, and then I would just like memorize it.
Right,
And
exactly.
then, like, play it back.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those weird things, man. I never went to school for music per se, once again, just because of the whole academia world of music is such a bore to me. But I figured I could at least reap the benefits of studying with guys while I was there. And I'm glad I did it. But there's something to be said for you, one, learning by ear, and two, just trial by fire, getting out, touring, playing, recording, doing all that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think that's what matters most. And in the end, it's not like I see you and I'm like, oh, he has like technical deficiencies or something, like you seem like a technically efficient drummer.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I mean, I learned from just watching other people play.
Right.
Like growing up, I would go to shows all the time. I mean, back when we were young, shows were like $5, so you'd just like go to like you didn't even care what band it was. You would just go and watch.
Yeah. You grew up in Georgia?
I grew up in Salt Lake City.
Oh, really? Utah?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm a big fan of that state. I don't know so much about Salt Lake City, the city itself, but outside of it in more or less, I guess, southern Utah.
Yeah,
like in
Moab
Escalante and Moab and Bryce Canyon and Zion. And
all the national parks are incredible, like things you'd never see anywhere.
I don't think it exists anywhere else on the planet.
Yeah.
I think it only exists there.
Yeah.
It is so bizarre. And it's you could die really easily out there. I found that out with my now ex-wife. I think that might have ushered in the divorce. And
Really?
We were just like, holy shit, we're going to die out here. Got lost. I legitimately got lost in Utah. And I had binoculars, and I didn't orient myself as to what mountains that I rode in. So and when you're down in these slot canyons, you don't have a sense of what's above you, but it started to rain, and you have to get out of the slot canyons because flash floods can come by and it kills people.
Yeah.
So we got out, and then when we got out, I was like, I have no idea where I am.
Know where you were? Yeah.
I just couldn't orient myself. So I thought that I needed to head in a particular direction, and I had binoculars, and I saw a car at the absolute end of where I could see through those binoculars, headed towards it, freaking out the whole time, thinking we were going to sleep out there, and ended up being my car. And I was like, fucking hey, I had beer in the cooler. I was like, oh, God, it was a total victory beer. I'd never been so happy to be alive.
Yeah, that's scary.
So that's my Utah story.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. And I really like living in Salt Lake, too. It's super cheap to live there. And
Fuck yeah.
It's beautiful.
Nice.
You know, if you're an outdoorsy person, like anything is like a half hour away. Camping.
That's so awesome.
Cliff diving, floating a river.
That sounds amazing. I don't get to do much of that these days. Not in New York. Upstate there's amazing stuff, but it's just a drive. We don't have a car, and like it's always some process.
Upstate's beautiful. I love it.
It really is, right?
Yeah.
You're starting to get more of that, I guess, being with these guys, starting to see some of that, right?
In Buffalo, actually, not too long ago, I walked across the border to Toronto.
Really?
Through Niagara Falls.
No shit.
I just kind of like sat there for a while. I was like, this is nice. I'm just gonna stay here for a little bit. That's
awesome, man. Well, if you grew up in Salt Lake City, how did you end up playing with Norma Jean in the first place? Who's based out of Georgia?
So, the first band I ever went on tour with from Salt Lake, we were buddies with a band from Portland. They were called Clarity Process, and that guitar player ended up playing for Fear Before the March of Flames.
Okay.
And then I played a show with them where their drummer quit that night. And he told me, he's like, yeah, our drummer quit. And I was like, if you ever need anybody to like fill in or play, like just let me know. And so they got a hold of me. They're like, hey, you want to do this tour? And flew there, tried out, ended up like getting into the band. And then Fear Before ended up touring with Norma Jean.
Wow.
And I just like sort of like made friends with those guys. And then 6 years later, like after I'd broken up with Fear Before, or like after it just kind of like dissipated, I guess. And they just like, I got a text message from Corey, the singer. He's like, hey, like, would you be into like coming and like doing this tour with us? Like, we'll fly you down here, whatever. And I was like, okay, sure. And then I guess that just led into Andy saw us play one night. Daniel actually was playing for Every Time I Die.
Okay.
He quit like last minute before a tour.
Right.
Andy hit me with a text and was like, hey, we're going on tour in 6 days. Can you learn all these songs? I was like writing at the time in California with some friends, and I was still there for a couple days. And I was like, yeah, but I got to finish up this writing session, and then I could fly down there. And then learned all the songs in 4 days, and then took off. We had like 5 hours of practice before we left.
No shit. How many songs did you have to learn of theirs?
I learned 17.
Whoa. Yeah, because they're pretty quick songs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're like 2 minutes, 3 minutes long.
Burners.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's a lot stuffed into them, though. It's like
yes,
a whole song in 3 minutes.
Right. Absolutely. That is wild, man. You've kind of filled in like the 3 steps that you just walked me through were instances where you were just available and you were like, I'll do it. And then it's one thing has led to the other. It's kind of the coincidences and the chain of events is really interesting, and it all kind of stems back to like one decision to be like, hey man, I'll play that gig.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Isn't it?
It's weird where it's brought me. It's fucking awesome.
Totally, man. For the people listening to this right now, I had dug up a picture where one of my bands had played South by Southwest in 2013, and I went out and saw you play with Norma Jean on one of your first gigs at South by Southwest, which, by the way, was fucking so awesome.
That show was awesome. That show was amazing.
It was so badass. I was just like, wow, this band it's killing. You sounded incredible.
There was like people hanging from the PA.
Yeah,
and, like,
dude.
Just like old people, like people that like may have like a few kids like stage diving and just like losing their minds.
Make an adult party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Beer flying everywhere.
Yeah, dude. It was badass.
It was great.
And what's crazy is that was the first time I saw Norma Jean. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'd never seen the band prior to that. I had the records. I was familiar with the music. I had heard that the band was great live. And I was like, I got to just go see this band live. And then I saw him. That was the first time I saw him. I was like, God damn, this band is killing right now. And then meanwhile, I saw you. I was like, you looked so young. I showed you the picture earlier, man. Like, I realized you looked younger than you actually were. You still have a baby face. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, man. Good job. No hard drugs. No hard drugs. Hugs, not drugs, kids.
That's right.
obviously you get in Norma Jean, you're playing some of those shows. I think y'all played one of the songs. In fact, I think it was the first song that's off of Wrongdoers.
Wrongdoers,
Yeah. Which, by the way,
I think that was the first time we played that too live.
Oh, that's cool, man. And there's video of it. I actually looked it up from that night of y'all playing that song, which is crazy. I was like, didn't they play a song off that record? That record is so awesome, man.
Thank you.
And I really, really dig Polar Similar as well. What were the challenges, I guess, in playing with Norma Jean, do you feel? Like,
songwriting, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is one thing about that band that I will say, that I think that they're really well-written songs. They're writing songs. You know?
Thank you. Yeah, it was like they had already done like a lot of like chaotic and like crazy stuff, but like we wanted to like write good structured songs.
Yeah.
And we would like go in, record, write for 2 weeks, and then we would take off. All of us would go back home. We'd listen to it, and then we'd come back, and we're like, what if we put this here and put a bridge here? Like, what if we played this like this? You know, like it was kind of a really cool way to write that like I'd never experienced before, and I felt like it brought the songs together like in a way that I've never done, and it was challenging, but like now I understand like how to write a song better.
100%, because I guess I was a 80s and 90s kid. I kind of started becoming aware of the process of songwriting and really sort of analyzing Soundgarden songs and hearing the different things, the way they would set up a verse to chorus and a bridge, and then the second bridge is slightly different, and the ebb and flow of all of that process coming together in those songs was something that really taught me a lot about songwriting and how you could have a lot of parts, but you have to really kind of drill it down and make everything cohesive. And I think I always thought Norma Jean did a good job of doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, on the next record, Polar Similar, and listening to your performances on both of those, do you feel as though you progressed as a player? I feel like you did. I mean, obviously that could have been due in part to the songs themselves, but
yeah, I definitely feel like I'm more proud of Polar Similar than I am of Wrongdoers.
There's some great drummer.
I hear a lot of people say they like Wrongdoers better. I was actually like thinking about this on the way over. I was like, it's really weird to me that people like Wrongdoers over Polar Similar, because me myself, I'm like more proud of the second record I did with them.
Yeah,
because I felt more comfortable. I felt like my parts were more creative. I was like more proud of my drum sound.
Yes.
It felt like the songs came together a lot easier.
There's some bangers on that record, man. God. And the production is great. And yeah, for sure, like it's my own sort of analytical drummer mind, but to me, I think you sound more comfortable. Not that you don't on the previous one. I just think you sound that much more at home on the second one. And it's a really cool record and some badass playing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So congrats, dude.
Thanks, man.
Well, going back to sort of kind of the earlier years, you were mentioned going to $5 shows and checking out drummers. And it's an important thing for, I think, drummers listening to this, that it's one thing to watch videos, and that is an amazing asset to have in this day and age, that you can watch videos of any drummer anywhere and sit there and analyze it. You know, and when I was younger, that just wasn't an option. You know, you had to go get a fucking drumming instructional video from the music store and hope that the guy there knew what he was talking about and he gave you the right one. It was like a whole different process, you know? But it is really important going to see live music and seeing the physicality and witnessing it there in the flesh than as you were starting to play drums. Particularly influential bands or records as you were starting to play drums?
Yeah, there was this local band. They were called The Kill. He played for them, and I remember watching him and just being like, what the fuck? Like, I've never seen a drummer play like that before. And
really?
He's still the hardest hitting drummer I've ever seen.
You know, it's interesting. Have you seen Casey from Cult Leader play?
Oh, yeah.
That guy might be the hardest hitter drummer that I've ever seen.
That kid is insane.
I can't, like, the ferocity in which he plays, he has to, I mean, man, you better have a cymbal endorsement because shit is breaking.
Yeah, big time. I actually recorded, like, their first demo.
Cult Leader?
Not Cult Leader, but when they were Gaza.
Oh, right on. No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, once again, crazy playing. Holy shit, that band.
I remember when my friend Luke Sorensen was in the band, he's just like, hey, you want to come record us? And I actually, like, recorded them on it was an SP808 sampler.
Really?
I,
How did it sound?
Mic'd everything up. Like, I hooked it to a mixer and then, like, hooked mics up to it, mic'd everything up. It sounded really shitty, but, like, it was, like, the only thing that we had at the time, you know? Like,
right.
I was, like, one of the only people that was, like, friends with them that could, like, hook a rig up and, like, record them, you know? So
that's amazing.
I was like, yo, man, you should, like, just let me play drums for your band. And then, like, I heard, like, when I recorded them, I was, like, listening to his playing, I was like, I don't know if I could think like that, so never mind. Don't let me play for your band.
100%. Yeah. They're coming through Brooklyn. They're going to be playing here at St. Vitus, so I'm going to catch up with him and talk to him, pick his brain about beating the ever-living shit out of his drums. It's just insane.
Yeah, he is insane.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, so Dan Whitesides now plays for the Used. He played for another band called New Transit Direction.
Okay.
They were, like, sort of, like, poppy, indie stuff. The Kill was, like, a hardcore, like, spastic, like, crazy band. And then, like, they, like, transitioned into, like, this poppy indie stuff. And it was, like, really interesting seeing that, like, okay, this is your band, you broke up, like, this is your new band? Like, I didn't, like, understand it. It, like, kind of, like, gave me, like, a more, like, appreciation, like, a wide variety of, like, different kinds of music.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you can, like hardcore and, like, poppy stuff and this and that. And, like, just watching him play, I was like, he's, like, putting, like, what he did in hardcore into indie. And it was like, it was really cool to watch that. There was also another band. They were called the Team Tragedies.
Okay.
The drummer, Ryan Seaman, who now plays for, I don't know how, but they found me. He plays with Dallin from Panic at the Disco.
Okay.
He was also a really good drummer that I would go and watch. This place called Kilby Court. It's like this tiny garage. That's where I'd go and watch all these bands, like $5, $7 shows, and there was like 7 bands playing, you know.
Whoa.
But yeah, it's really weird, like, seeing these drummers that I, like, idolize, and now they're doing really good for themselves.
Right. That's amazing.
It's
and
like
you don't
we're
really
all-
think about Salt Lake City as a hub of any of that necessarily.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, you know? When, you know, we didn't even touch on it, but why the drums? How did you find the drums in the first place?
I actually started, like, playing guitar in 5th grade.
Okay.
And my brother's friend had a kit. I remember going over there to his house and playing it. He was in a band with him. And I was like, you know, this is like, I feel like I understand this more than I understand guitar. So
Yeah.
The next year, I was like, Mom, like, can I just, like, get a drum set? Like, what do you think about, like, getting me a kit for Christmas, just like a super cheap one?
Do you remember exactly what kind it was?
It was called an Olympic,
Okay.
which I found out is a Premier.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Weird.
And it sounds really good. Like,
Really?
I took I think it was like a $300 kit, and I took it on tour when I was playing with this band called Orbs. And, like, sound guys were asking me what kind of kit it was. And
Come
I was just
on.
like, I don't know. It was just
Really?
like this. It's called an Olympic. Like, I've never seen another
For
one in
real?
my life.
Damn.
But they're like, man, this kid rips.
Really?
But now it's sitting in North Carolina. I still need to, like, get it back from him.
Okay.
I want to ship it back, but it's, like, gonna cost as much to ship as the kit is. But, like, I kind of feel like,
For nostalgic purposes, I
Yeah.
feel like you have to have it, right?
Yeah.
It's your first kid, man.
Yeah.
And especially if people were picking your brain, like asking you, like, what the fuck is it? That's pretty wild.
it is really weird. I was like, I didn't even have, like, a front head on it. I, like, put a blanket over the front of it, and it just, like, still, like, like the kick drum was just like pumping hard through
Really?
the PA. Like it sounded amazing.
Interesting. Wow. All right. I guess I got to look into these drums. I did not. I was not aware. I've never heard of that brand name. So that's a new one for me.
It sounds cheap too, and like the wrap was like coming off of it, and
No
like
shit.
it was like wrinkly and
Damn.
yeah, not in very good shape. I didn't bring cases with it; I just threw it in the trailer.
Wow. Well, what age were you when you first started touring then? Because it sounds like you started pretty young.
I was 18. It was like a couple weeks after
How long
high
did
school.
you? How long was your first tour?
It was a little over 2 months.
Your first tour was 2 months at 18 years old.
Yeah,
Dude,
it was insane.
That's crazy.
We had a lot of canceled shows, a lot of like last minute ads to bills. Like
Oh my God.
we booked a lot of stuff through like chat rooms. I had to like print out directions, like pull
Of
into
course.
a town and be like, have you ever heard of
Pre-GPS
this?
phones and everything. Yeah, exactly.
Like pull into a gas station and be like, have you even heard of this place before?
That's how
Like-
you used to have to get around. Gas
Yeah,
station
yeah.
attendants used to have to know that shit because that was your default if you got
Yeah.
lost. And they would tell you, then they would draw a little map for you, and then it's fucking amazing. It's a wonder that anyone ever got anywhere, ever.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine like touring like 10 years before that when there wasn't MapQuest.
Yeah. It was payphones and gas stations. That's how you did it.
Like, what if you call somebody and they're just like not around?
Yeah,
like,
they're not around.
You just
Get
like have to sit around.
Their
again. It's
answering
like-
machine.
Yeah.
Wait for them to come back to play the message you left for them. Oh, I guess they're gone now. All right, I don't know how to catch them.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
No
insane
cell
to me.
phones. Whole different world, man. It blows my mind. It truly does. So on that first tour, is there any particular or at any point in your career, what are some of the strangest gigs you've ever played?
I think it was St. Louis, this place called the Creepy Crawl.
Okay.
The promoter was just like the most insane person. Like, after we played, he like brought a TV in the back alley and he's like, you guys want to break this? And he just like started smashing it and he like opened up a sewer and like threw it down the sewer and then just like ran off.
Really?
It was like the most bizarre thing ever. I'm like, whoa, touring's weird.
Was that on the first? That was on the first tour then?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow, dude.
I remember staying. Actually, after that, we stayed at this person's house in St. Louis for like 3 days. We had a show canceled, and we just like brought all of our gear into her house and just started jamming,
Nice.
like writing
Spontaneous house
stuff,
jam.
practicing. Like, I was like, that would never happen now.
Right.
Like, we would never do that. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, we'd just be like, oh, yeah, we got like a canceled show or something. Like, let's relax in a hotel or something, Like,
Right.
You're young
And
full of fire.
everything is
You're just
amazing.
like, yeah.
I remember doing the same thing. One of the stranger gigs that I ever played was in Houston with one of my bands, and we did a spontaneous show as well. It was like an after hour show, whatever. They were like, you can play on a rooftop. We were like, all right, we'll do it. And we got there, and it was like two floors of like giant ceilings, like warehouse style. And not one, but two spiral staircases that we had to load all of our equipment
Oh
on
my God.
to get up on the roof and play. It was so stupid,
That
man.
is crazy.
And we played for a few people. We were like, oh, God, man. It's just so... when you look back at some of these dumbass shows that you played, it's great for stories. But, I mean, my God. Wow. It's so ridiculous sometimes,
I played a show in front of 0 people one time. It was
Zero?
Yeah.
Was there a bartender there at least?
There was so it was like the venue was separated from the bar, and we were underage. Like, we couldn't even we weren't even supposed to be playing there. They were like, all right, you can play, and then you have to leave.
Yeah.
But it was just like a bunch of like 60-year-old men like drinking on one side, and then like 0 people on the other side. We just like played in front of the band we were on tour with. We're like, fuck it, let's just like practice at least. Let's
Right.
just like go, like, we're on tour. Like, this is our first tour. Might as well just like play for no reason.
That's amazing. Well, tell me a little bit about the shows y'all played last night. You mentioned that you played on a boat. How did those shows go down? Does your drum set rock? Like, if you hit waves, are you
Oh,
rocking
man.
around and shit?
Like, when we would start playing, like all of a sudden the ship would tip to one side. So I was like leaning the whole time I was playing, like leaning towards my hi-hat. It was like,
Oh my God.
it made it like kind of hard to like do fills and stuff. But I mean, there were a few bloopers, but I mean, I feel like that's kind of expected when the boat's like rocking and then like leaning and then like people are like tearing the roof off.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane.
Wow.
Our fans were going fucking ape shit.
Yeah. I saw some footage from it. It looked wild.
Yeah.
Pandemonium.
The third night,
Y'all did three nights of that?
What's that?
Y'all did 3 nights on that on the boat with 2 sets each night?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So the third night, the promoter had to get up and be like, all right, guys, just like be aware that the roof is like half of it's torn apart. So please like just be respectful. Like,
oh my God.
And it sort of like, it calmed down. Like people were having a good time, but like they didn't like rip it apart like the last 2 nights.
Right.
Which is good. I mean, I think the second set I saw this dude just like tearing it apart on purpose, you know, which isn't cool.
Right.
I'm like, man, you're coming here, like, don't disrespect the venue that we're playing at, you know? Like, what if they don't let us play again because we have asshole fans?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, there is a show that I've watched of Norma Jean playing in Russia that is killer. How was that show?
Russia is probably the most, like, intense place I've ever played.
Really? Yeah.
I feel like the whole crowd is just one huge pit.
Damn.
Everyone's jumping, everyone's pushing each other. Like, I feel like it's because they don't get a lot of that over there. That like when they do, everyone shows up and just loses their mind. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. There's that the I forget the name of the festival, but when like Metallica and Pantera went to Russia and there was like, God, dude, bazillion people showed up for it, and the cops were beating people's asses and everything. It's fucking wild, man. All the kids are so thankful too. It's one of my favorite places to go.
Really?
Yeah.
That is badass that y'all played there. I remember seeing the footage and I was like, dude, this looks intense, man.
Yeah.
Have you not had moments where you're playing and you're just watching the maelstrom of madness and chaos around you and feel like this could go south, this could go bad at times?
I feel like they wouldn't let it go that way.
Yeah.
They were respectful. I feel like if they weren't, then I don't know who runs the venues, but it didn't seem like they were like normal venue owners.
Right.
They were like beefy dudes that like looked like they were like part of the mob or something, you know?
Right, and very well could have been.
Yeah.
What are some of the other countries that you played where you're like, wow, this is an incredible place? Or just like, oh my God, this place
Czech Republic.
Yes.
Was really cool.
Yeah.
Austria is like a really beautiful place. I haven't like played a good show there, but like it's like I love visiting there.
Fuck yeah. Because you take photos as well, right? You have your cameras and stuff?
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, what a picturesque place to go take photos. Austria is supposed to be one of the most beautiful places on the face of the planet.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Also Australia. I mean, anywhere in Australia.
That's awesome that you've been there.
I like the culture.
Yeah.
They have a really similar sense of humor, so it's like not hard to like joke around with them, you know?
Right.
And they're just like hilarious people.
Yeah, I call them limey rednecks. I mean, that's what they are. You know, it's like, yeah, it's such a bizarre scenario with Australians, and every time I meet them, they're like kind of outrageous and like dark sense of humor, like totally un-PC. Every time I'm like, my God, I gotta go to Australia and like just go fucking drinking and hanging out with some dudes.
Yeah.
Because they seem like some people who know how to have fun.
Yeah, I actually have like quite a bit of friends over there.
Really?
We're playing a show over there. I forget what it's called. It's like a festival in January.
Oh, cool.
And we only play one show, but I'm just like, I'm gonna book like a week there with like just hanging out with friends.
That's awesome, man.
There's so many good people over there.
That's so cool.
I would move there if it wasn't expensive.
Right. What's the most technically fraught show you've ever played? I mean,
there's been so many.
Give me a couple. I've certainly had no shortage of like breaking the bass drum beater flies off and then I can't find it and then I don't have a bass drum, or like punching through heads or breaking shit falls over. I mean, I've had no shortage.
I can't even recall. I think that's happened in pretty much every state I've played.
Really?
Like, you know, you break a head and then you like replace the snare and then that head breaks and then like one of your like the metal just snaps in half on your stand. Like,
yeah.
there's just so many. Like you're playing, and then your beater goes through your kick drum head, and then you
sticks.
can't like get it out.
Right.
And so there's just like no kick drum, so you're just like
It's
playing without
so
a kick drum.
demoralizing, isn't it? It sucks so bad.
And then people are just like, "What the fuck's he doing?" You know, like,
This guy sucks. They're throwing fruit at you. It's terrible, man. It's a terrible scenario.
I can't like think of one in particular. There's just there's been a lot of times.
There's been no
where
shortage of technical meltdowns in every
Yeah.
state, apparently.
I'm surprised I still even have fans.
Yeah. Right on, man. Well, what's going on, I guess, going forward with Every Time I Die? What's on the agenda for the rest of the year and going into 2019?
We have a tour coming up in November, like beginning November, with Turnstile and Vane and Angel Dust. And that leads up to our Christmas show. We have like an annual Christmas show every
Back in
year
Buffalo,
in
right?
Buffalo, yeah.
Nice.
Which was my first show ever playing Buffalo was our Christmas show, and it was like the biggest show that we've ever played as a headlining band.
Wow.
It was very scary having all their friends
For sure.
just piled around behind me.
No
watching
shortage
me
of
play.
pressure there, right?
I'm like, I hope I like live up to everybody else. You know, they've had a lot of good drummers.
A lot of great drummers for sure.
That was super scary. And then yeah, we have the that festival in it's like outside of Melbourne,
Awesome.
Australia in January. That's like all we have right now. We plan on writing beginning of the year,
Nice.
so taking some time off.
Sounds good, man. Well, you're going to find out how cold the fucking Buffalo winters are, man. It's colder than a
yeah.
witch's titty, my man.
It is.
God damn.
The Christmas show last year, it was just like we went in and was practicing. It was fine. All of a sudden, we go to load out, and it's just white out. You can't even see.
Jesus.
Like, you couldn't like see to load.
Really?
It
That
was,
ain't right.
Yeah,
Damn, dude.
it was wild. Yeah,
Get your winter
I've seen
gear
it.
ready, bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, Goose, it was fun talking to you, my man. I look forward to catching you with this band tonight. And congrats on the gig, and I look forward to hearing whatever records and whatever stuff you got going on, my man.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, dude. All right, thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Goose for rapping with me. Dude is sounding awesome with Every Time I Die, and I look forward to getting my hands on a new record when they do put that out. Catch you on the next one. Crash, bang, boom.